Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of the Flight Scope Mevo Plus with the newly installed fusion tracking against the Bushnell Launch Pro on the Gold. So if you're watching this, I take it you already watched part 1 where we did a wedge test. In this test, we're gonna do some iron shots. So gonna focus on the same thing we did on the first video, just kind of look at the numbers, see what we come up with, see how close these two units are in my indoor environment. Again, we're gonna be testing with the Titleist RCT ball. And I got the Mevo set 8 feet back, 9.5 to the screen. And I got them set up just like this. Just have the Flight Scope Mevo running the FS Golf app on the right on an iPad, and then Bushnell running Foresight's FSX software on the left. They're both set to local conditions, so same elevation here in Arizona, about 1200 above sea level. Both are selected with a premium ball on the screen. So not range ball, so we're not getting any variance there. And let's start off, and we'll start with a 9-iron. We'll probably do 9, 7, and then we'll do a 3-iron test and kind of see how these stack up against each other. So let's get started. All right, guys, we're gonna start this test off with a 9-iron. I'm not extremely long off the tee by any means, but I mean, the important thing here is that we get the data and that this kind of gets across to all levels of golfers. So any bad shots, I'm going to leave them in. And I'm also going to be looking here straight ahead to see how the shot shape is too, because one of the things that I like to work on is my shape. So I want to see if they're complementing each other and they're kind of doing the same thing. So let's start this off. We'll do 5 shots with the 9-iron. All right, got a little fade to start off with, and Mevo is picking up a draw on that one. I can tell you, actually it's saying it's straight, but it's showing left of target line, which I got these dialed in directly down target line. So yeah, left of target line on the Mevo, and we'll show the numbers after this, and then right on the Foresight. That was pulled, and it looks like it is kind of drawing a little bit. Shot shape on that, on the Mevo and the Foresight, look pretty similar here. And again, we'll see the numbers in the end, but just kind of relaying what I'm seeing on my end over here. Let's try to really get this one to turn over and see if they both kind of pick that up. More importantly, let's see if I can actually do that. That was toey, but it turned over. That was really toey. All right, so that was a pull draw, if anything. And yeah, similar shot shape on that too. I can't really tell right now without spending too much time standing over the monitors here, but shot shape looks pretty similar as far as I can see. All right, let's try to hit this one and do like a high fade. That should fade. All right, nice big high fade, just right of the target line. And Mevo picked up a, looks like it's picking up a fade, but it's left of the target line again. And again, I've lined up my Mevo. I mean, I've spent so much time with this. I got it lined up, I'm sure. Using the target alignment straight down the line. So it's a bit odd that that's left of the target line on the Mevo and right of the target line, which I know based on that shot, I'm pretty good at hitting one of those high cuts that, it felt like it did just what I'm seeing here in front of me. So, all right, let's close it off with one more. This one I'm gonna try to catch it a little thin. That was a little thin there. See the launch come down, and I definitely felt myself leave the face open. So we are right at the target line there. Mevo's got it right at the target line there too. Yeah, let's take a look at the data and see what we came up with. All right, guys, I got the data from those first 5 shots with the 9-iron in front of me, so let's kind of take a look here, see what we got. So let's start off with Let's do launch angle. So launch angle, we're averaging 24.1 on the Launch Pro. And if we go over to launch angle on the Mevo, we're averaging 26.3, so about 2 degrees higher. And this is something that is common that I've seen over the months testing these two. The Mevo seems to really pull high launch numbers that are unlike, you know, my swing and on other launch monitors I've used in my own. So that's one thing to take into account. Definitely notice some higher launch angles. If we look at the spin, we're averaging spin here. 73.14 on the Launch Pro, average spin 71.90 on the Mevo Plus. And again, the spin, I'm looking at them side by side, kind of hard for you guys to see that, but they're really close. I mean, even that last one that I thinned, you know, tried to hit a thin shot purposely, it spooled up to 8,500. And then over on the Launch Pro, it's 8,600. So those all look really good. Even that middle shot, 57.65. That was that toey one I hit. 5,800 there. So it's pretty good numbers. Now we can look at ball speed. Ball speed, I'm averaging 91.9, and there's the numbers there on the Launch Pro. Ball speed here on the Mevo is 94.5, so it's definitely hotter. It's coming out with hotter ball speeds that, you know, seem a lot hotter than what I'm used to. So it's one thing to take into account. And carry, pretty important number for you guys, I'm sure. We're averaging 122 carry. You can see that last shot only went 110 a carry because it was a thin one. And if we look over here on the Mevo, oh, there it is. You can see that last one, it was 110 on the Launch Pro, 107.4 there. So an average of 118.4 carry, average of 122 carry on the Launch Pro. So picking up a lot, even though it's picking up higher ball speed, it's shorter numbers here coming up on the carry. So that's pretty interesting. Could have some, it can't be spin. Probably has to do with that launch angle being higher, I would imagine. But let's move on here. Let's take a look at some club data. All right, so club data, we were averaging 76 miles an hour, and there's the numbers there on the Launch Pro. Club speed, we were averaging 79, almost 80 miles an hour. So we're about 4 miles per hour difference on club head speed. And I can tell you, I'm definitely not swinging a 9-iron 80 miles an hour. That's more characteristic for my 7-iron for me. So one thing to take into account, also angle of attack here, if you look. These numbers look a lot closer to what I'm used to, so averaging negative 3.5. I know the wedge test was pulling some funky numbers. This one's averaging 5, so we got negative 3.5 and then 5. So closer, but you know, I'm still kind of curious how the angle of attack. I mean, I have my doubts about how it measures it, but you know, we got the new fusion tracking, which is why I wanted to wait to do this video. So let's look at some other stuff here. Efficiency is not that big a deal, but there's the numbers for you. Last thing I want to look at is offline. So how we saw some that were, this first shot, 0.7 yards to the right, and it felt very much like a right side of center shot to me. And if you look at the Mevo, we got 2.7 left. So we're averaging 4.0 left. There's the numbers, the lateral numbers. And we go back to here, and we got 1.4 left. So that's one thing of concern to me. I like to really work on hitting shape shots, so I want to make sure that those numbers are correct. And so far with the 9-iron, I got a couple squirmy ones. Some were like almost identical in shot shape when I was looking over. So, but let's move on to the 7-iron and see how that goes. All right, guys, let's move on to the 7-iron now. I'll try to look back here a little bit more. I noticed on the first video I actually was looking off that way, but it's because honestly I'm doing this test, not to sound selfish, but for myself too. I got money tied up in these two units, and I really want to know, like, which one am I keeping here? They're both great units, I can tell you that, but so I am getting a little bit looking at the stuff here because I'm doing this with you. I'm finding out now. I've tested them kind of here and there, but this is my first time where I'm really putting them head to head, level playing field, and going from there. So again, I plan on making more videos like this. If you guys can please subscribe down below, take you a couple seconds, it really helps out. I know a lot of people watching, there's a lot that don't subscribe, but part 3 is coming out soon, and we're going to do a lot of other software with these, like Creative Golf 3D. So please take a second and subscribe below. All right, so 7-iron, let's start this off. Hopefully I can hit it well today. wasn't the best strike, but got at least 140 out of it. All right, I'm gonna try to turn this one over. I pulled it, but I should have turned that over, and I did. So it should go a little bit longer there. Looks like that one flew about 150. All right, let's go with a high cut on this one. Oh, and then let me look at the shot shape before I forget. So actually, yeah, they both got a very similar shape. I'm looking at the Mevo. We'll see the numbers after, but shot shape looks pretty identical here. Let's do a high cut. Ooh, that was toey, but that cut. So that's going to come up a little short, but that's good data to have. We'll have a whole assortment of shots going down. Now let's just try to do a couple normal strikes. That felt hit well, but pulled. Looks like a little out to in as well. All right, last one. Let's try to hit this one thin. Thin and bad. That was definitely thin and bad, so mission accomplished. All right, let's take a look at the numbers. All right, guys, so here's the numbers for the 7-iron. Before I go into the data tables, I wanted to kind of show you that last shot I wanted to hit thin and bad, which mission accomplished. You can kind of see the shot shape there. Doesn't look too bad on the Mevo, but you can see on the foresight, it could just be the way it's displayed and the angles, but we'll look at the numbers here. But at least it's picking up a very similar flight path. So let's go to the data table here. If I press the right button, and then we'll bring up the table here. All right, so first thing I'm gonna look at is the carry numbers. So carry on the Mevo, I'm averaging 135.7, and again, we kind of threw some different types of shots in there. I'd say for me, good strikes about 145, 150, so I see a couple in there that felt solid. We'll take a look at the foresight. And we are averaging 140, which seems a little more appropriate for me, especially some of those shots that I shot 2 and 3, for example. Shot 2, 151, shot 3, 149. Those ones felt pretty solid. I look over here, 150 and 142. So actually, not bad, except 142 wasn't. I mean, we're quite a bit of yards off, but anyway, average 140. And average 135, so about 5 yards lower on the Mevo. If we look over at ball speed, we're averaging 100.7 ball speed, so I think some of those lower numbers really threw it off, but you can see shot 2 and 3 that felt solid at 105, which is typically around 107 when I'm hitting well with a 7-iron, my 7-iron anyway. And then ball speed here, 102.5. So again, we're seeing a higher ball speed on the Mevo, but lower carry numbers. And I'm gonna take a wild guess and say launch. So let's look at the launch. And that last shot was thin, so you can see the launch angle went down there, so that's good. Averaging 21.7 degrees of launch on the Mevo. And we look at the launch angle on the Launch Pro, 19.8, which is definitely more characteristic with mine. And you can see shot number 3 there. I wanted to hit that high cut, so it spooled up a lot on that one. But yeah, these numbers look very identical to me for what I know about my swing and the kind of shots that I hit. Jump over to spin, we're looking at 6,059. Again, you can see that spin jump up on that last thin shot to 6,700. Spin here, 6,338 to 6,059, just a few hundred RPMs off. But if you look at the shots, it actually has me as shot 1. It's spooled up big time for some reason. When the last shot's the one that I hit really thin that I would expect that out of. So look at shot 1 there, 69.79 to spin and 59.75 a spin. So that's kind of strange there and uncharacteristic for the Mevo from what I know. Angle of attack, averaging 3.4 down. Doesn't seem too far off for me. 4.7 down. This seems a little bit more like what I'm used to. And then club head speed, we're averaging 77.9 club head speed on the Launch Pro. 80.8, not too far off. I mean, actually 77, but that's like 2 miles per hour club head speed difference, but we're pulling lower carry numbers on the Flight Scope. Launch angle, you guys probably, some of you guys who are fitters probably know a little bit better than me on that, so I'm guessing maybe the launch angle is why we're getting higher club head speeds, ball speeds with the Mevo, but having lower carry numbers, so that's interesting. But let's, so we got all the data, I'll kind of show you that there. You guys want to pause any of this for other numbers you might want to see. And lateral, let's see lateral real quick actually. 3.3 left here, 1.6 right on the direction. So again, we're seeing some kind of differences on the direction that the ball's going, which for me, that's pretty important. But let's jump to the last and final club. It should be a pretty pretty interesting one, 3-iron, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so while filming the 3-iron portion of the video, I actually had a little issue happen here. When I was hitting the 3-iron, it came off of the shaft. So gonna have to get that fixed, and unfortunately can't show that to you. The 2 shots that I did hit though, they had pretty similar shape. For the second one, when this came off, was really bad, and I was surprised to see that the shape was pretty close. So for that test, I was using this more forgiving King Forge Tech copper 3-iron. The irons that I've been using, this 9 and the 7, and what I'm gonna have to continue to use now are the Cobra Mim copper Tour irons, which are my gaming iron that I use. So the lowest I have right now is a 6-iron, so I'm gonna have to continue this test with a 6-iron, which I know is pretty close to the 7, but to keep things different, I wanted to kind of show you that, looking at some of the comments on the first video, I know a few people said, well, you're not supposed to use the Titleist RCT ball, it's not incorporated yet with the software, which that's correct, but it still has the same principle to it. It hasn't been optimized for the Flight Scope software yet, but it still should work the same, and based on my testing and experience, it seems to work just as good, if not better in some cases. But for this test, I'm gonna keep it with the silver dot on the same ball model, Titleist Pro V1, the newer one, to just keep it level and fair. And then for the test, I just wanted to show you, I have it lined up exactly down the center to match the foresight. So I should be getting the same kind of lateral differences or misses left to right. Again, both are using premium ball. I don't have range ball selected on either. Both are at my elevation, so apples to apples, local weather conditions, no wind, everything like that. And a few other people have asked, well, what angle are you running the device at? You know, some say you should run it at this, you should run it at 12, to which my answer was that, you know, there's a tolerance in the app where it tells you have to adjust the tilt. But for my purposes and what I've read, and I actually talked to Flight Scope, they're recommending it to be ran at 12 degrees, which is exactly what I've been running it at for these tests. So, and I make sure that the roll is as close to 0 as possible. So I want to keep this pretty fair. So for those asking, 12 degrees, and after talking to Flight Scope, this is going to be the standard here coming up pretty soon, where it's going to be at 12 degrees, because it is kind of overwhelming going back and forth. Another thing that happened while the 3-iron came off is the Flight Scope died after about 45 minutes. So that's one thing you have to take into account. Battery life is not as good on the Flight Scope. So they do make a power bank that you can use to add more life to it, and don't just use any one. I'll put a link down below to the one that they recommend. I think they might be selling it on their website now. As for the Launch Pro, this thing's still cooking at like 65%, and I ran that most of the day. So that's one of the good things that the Launch Pro has going for it. One of many is that the battery life is really good, where the Mevo, you know, trying to film these, having it idle, about 45 minutes it was dead, so I had to recharge. All that aside though, let's get this test started, and we're just gonna hit some 6-iron shots using the dot on the Pro V1, 12-degree angle, 8 foot back, 9.5 foot of ball flight, and see how it goes to close it out. All right, let's get these 6-iron shots going, and again, we're using the Titleist Pro V1, newer version with the provided metallic dot from Flight Scope, pointing it directly at the screen for each shot. per the instructions. And for those of you who are asking about, is there anything causing interference? There's nothing on that side of the wall behind the screen. It's just outdoors. I turned the LED lights off, though I doubt those would have any interference with it at all. And then the subwoofer you see to the left, that's for when I switch this to movies, and that's not plugged in. So obviously I got a laptop and iPad over here and a projector up above, but I don't think that would be inside the Mevo's window. So I don't think it should really matter. And I would imagine people would have similar setups as this is a pretty typical indoor environment. So let's hit some shots with the 6-iron. It is a new day because I had to charge things up to finish this part after the 3-iron issue happened. So I'm not warmed up, but I'll do my best to keep these in play. That wasn't the best, but a little toey, probably not going to go very far. That's far enough. And if we look at the shape on both, it looks almost identical on the Launch Pro and the Mevo Plus. I can see that launch angle is higher on the Mevo Plus. Again, we're running this at 12 degrees as per recommended by Flight Scope. Let me try to get this one to turn over. Fat, but that turned over. Definitely should have warmed up on this one. Let's look at the shape though. Reading more left on the foresight, it looks like. Launch angle again, way higher on the Flight Scope. Looked like about 4 degrees higher just then, which again is an issue I'm seeing. That was fat too. Rip the face wide open, that's going nowhere. As far as the shot shape, yeah, it looks pretty close on screen. Looks like it might be going left though, but we'll check the data after that. I probably should have warmed up, but I only have so much time and then I got to hit the road after this. That was solid. A little fade. All right, that got about the distance I'm used to with a 6. And I'm like hurting myself swinging right now. Club speed's down, but that's fine. So launch angle again, higher on the Mevo. Shot shape, we got left of center line on the Mevo and right of center line, which I typically hit a fade on the foresight, but not much. It doesn't look that far off. All right, last shot. This one, let's try to hit like a big cut. So we'll lose some yardage, but try to get this thing to go really right. That should do it. 142.0 yards. Ready. I got a pretty good distance for that shot. So reading a cut on the Mevo and a cut on the foresight. So let's take a look at the numbers and see how they look. Okay, before I go into the numbers, I just wanted to show you the shot shape on that last shot there. We tried to play a high cut. You can see launched at 20.5 on the foresight. And we got a high cut on the Mevo. Maybe, I mean, it looks further to the right, but it could just be the way that the software is set up. And launch angle 22.5 there, 20.5 there, so 2 degrees off. But let's dip into the numbers here. All right, get this on table view. Ready. Okay, so as far as the ball speed's going, I'm averaging 100.3 ball speed, and there's the 5 shots. All 5 shots are picked up on both units. 100.3 ball speed on the Launch Pro. 102.3, so again, we're seeing that higher ball speed coming off of the Mevo Plus. If we look at the, let's go straight to the spin. So average spin of 43.30, and now we're using that metallic dot. Let's see if it made a difference. Spin 49.65, so we're actually looking way worse on spin numbers here from using the RCT ball to the metallic dot. There's the numbers there. That second shot was really bad, and you see the spin going way down there. And then you see the spin there. So off on the spin. So, I mean, so far the RCT ball looks like it favors the spin numbers a bit more. Let's take a look at launch angle. We're averaging 16.1. And again, we're using a 6-iron here, but we got all different kinds of shots in there. And then if we look at launch angle here, 17.9. So we're almost 2 degrees off on the launch angle. Going over to carry. Carry, we are averaging 132. And again, that's some of those shots, 2 and 3 specifically, brought that number way down. But 132. Carry number on the Mevo, 136. So actually got higher carry average, and I don't know how it's reading that second shot is that went 116, because that thing was so poorly hit. And finally, let's just go over to club data real quick. Club data, we're averaging a swing speed of, wow, 76.8. Obviously, you can see that second shot where I caught it really fat. It just killed the speed before it made contact with the ball. So 76.8 swing speed there. Club speed here, 82.9, which I doubt being cold that I'm swinging that fast, but it could measure it in different ways as I'm seeing. And then finally, angle of attack, all over the place, averaging 1.6 down. So that first one actually hit with more of a downward strike like I'm used to. So 1.6 down there, angle of attack here, we are 4.1 down. So closer, but again, I mean, if you think about the percentage wise, it's kind of a bit. Lateral shot, there are the 5 lateral shots there. 3 to the left averaging. Offline, oop, go back. Where did I go here? There it goes. All right, so just again, we're at 3 to the left average here. Offline, we're averaging 2.2 to the left, so a lot closer. I mean, that's less than a yard of difference. So I'll just kind of flash the numbers for you there one last time on the Launch Pro. And then I'll give you a quick scroll on the Mevo. All right, there you have it, guys. I hope this helps further your decision. I can tell you that they were a lot closer than the wedge test, but there was definitely some odd things I saw coming out of the Mevo Plus. But again, it's still a really good unit. You just have to really ask yourself in the end, like, what's important to you. They're both extremely fun units to have. I definitely trust the numbers I'm getting with the photo-based unit, especially this Launch Pro, just for what I'm seeing out on the actual course. But the Mevo is a really fun time. I mean, it works great for left-handed players too. I don't have any lefties that really come in here. I could accommodate for them if I did, but I have my laptop and everything right in their backswing, so they would have to swing offset to make it work. So that's definitely something good that the Mevo has going for it. Being set up behind the ball, you can see I kind of have that coaster there to make sure that tilt angle is correct. People do kind of walk over this, and this adds all that extra space for when people are here, you know, kind of hanging out, that I have to use. So that's one downside for it. The battery life is also something to take into account. But again, you can get a power bank to fix that type of thing. So it really just comes down to cost and what exactly you're looking for. All I can do is just do the test, show you guys the numbers, and make a decision for myself that might help you guys in the end. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see that last and final video. We're gonna have a driver and see what happens there. But just to kind of sum this up for the argument with the dot versus the RCT ball, if anything, the RCT ball looks like it favors, at least on a 6-iron, it plays favorite to the Mevo Plus over using the metallic dot. Thanks again for everything, guys. Subscribe, and anything you guys see in this video, from the turf to the enclosure to the projector, laptop, it's all in the links in the description below. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Ask any questions that you guys might want answered.